Well, it's the morning of day 7, almost 7 a.m. Very different day from yesterday. It's overcast, it's raining, and there's currently some thunderstorms going on. There was a big thunderstorm last night. Mostly seemed to be cloud lightning. Didn't seem to be reaching the ground, but it poured really hard for about half an hour. There's my neighbors, the logging operation. And it's sort of raining right now, and there's thunder happening kind of above me. So I might hang on for a little bit and see what this does. Because I have no internet, I have no way of telling if this is going to be all day, if this is going to be just in the morning. I don't know what's going on. So I'd hate to start marching out and then be caught in a freaking deluge. That would not make my day more fun. So I'm going to hang out here for a little bit and see if anything changes. If it just stays the same, then I'm going to have to put on the rain jacket and suck it up. I mean, a nice change from yesterday being the hottest day of the year. I'll take that. Still waiting a little bit because there's a thunderstorm basically right overhead. It's not raining super hard, but honestly I'm more concerned about the lightning than the rain. In the meantime, here's my journey. That's a little informative map here. I stayed at Beehive on night 2. I stayed at White Lagoon at night 4. And I just stayed at Chalk Memorial on night 6. Brattleburn, well, we'll see if I'm hiking everything or not, depending on conditions and everything. I'm going to make that decision when I get to Sanquhar, which is right there. Yeah. My goal today is to get to about here. There's a village called Wenlock Head, and I'm going to see if I can make it there or not. And my big break is right here. That's Moffat in the middle of the trip. And I get sort of a day off there. 2 half days next to each other. So, just waiting out the rain. Okay, what the hell? Let's get day 7 rolling. The sky doesn't show any sign of changing. When I turned on my phone, I all of a sudden had a signal this morning. No idea. There was nothing last night. Maybe. I wonder if the logging operation has like a mobile thing so that they can get signals to their workers and stuff. It's a possibility. The one forecast I was able to pull up said high 60s right now and light chance of rain, but overall the day is low 70s and thunderstorms, 75%. It also says it's partly cloudy right now, and that seems to be grossly inaccurate. So I'm kind of rolling the dice here. I know where I'm going. I got my lightning rods. Let's go down the road and make something happen, because we can't stay here. In addition to the Bothy being decorated by an artist, all of the trail signs in this section are decorated by the same artist. All right, leaving behind the Uber industrial logging operation. And I was all wrong about this valley. I thought I was at the top of a valley going this way, but this is the top of a valley going that way. So am I going to go over a pass and then start to descend that way? I don't know. Oh, caught some lightning. Yeah, now we're going to be on a much quieter farm track, which I'm okay with. Quiet's nice. Turns out that this is the headwaters of the Water of Ken, which is the big river that flows through Dalry, where I was a couple mornings ago. And yes, it is a pass, so yes, it is going downhill this way into Scar Glen. Lovely sounding place. A little surprising for this track in this remote of a location to be paved, but the farm at the top of the glen there, Polskiok, was very nicely appointed. Everything mown and tidy and painted. So I'm guessing that's paved because of them. I go down this for a few miles until I get to a farm called Pulgown. All of the, not all of them, but a lot of the place names in this immediate vicinity start with the prefix POL, which means pool or stream. For example, Polskioch, that farm I just passed, means stream or pool by the hawthorn thicket. It's amazing what the internet can do. So when I get to Pulgown, I'm gonna go up to the left over a ridge, which is supposed to be not too bad of a climb, and then a long, viewful descent down to Sanquhar, where I've made myself a long to-do list for the middle of the day. Chief among those will be getting lunch. Okay, now I've been able to do some of the planning I couldn't do earlier, if I can keep flies off of my face. Sanquhar is 9 miles from where I started, about 8 miles from here. So that's the majority of the day. And the majority of that is the long descent. Apparently it kind of goes on a bit, but it's beautiful. Once I get there, I do a bunch of errands, do a little resupply. My original plan was from there to go over the hill, I think 6 miles, into Wanlock Head. Not the village itself, but the glen where the water of Wanlock flows. And I was going to wild camp. But going into Wanlock Head itself, which is the highest village in Scotland, by the way, is only 1.6 miles further. Even in my worst state, I can do 1.6 miles. And there's a pub there that I'm not certain what the nature of their accommodations are. I don't think it's like a full hotel, but I think they might have like glamping pods. I also know though that it's Friday. So at my earliest convenience, I'm going to look them up and see if there's anything reservable. And if not, I give them a call and just say, hey, is there any place I could just put my tent down around your establishment for the evening? Because then that would make tomorrow 1.6 shorter, which I would love. And then the day after that, I get into Moffat, and that's my first legit rest of the trip, which is probably why I'm so knackered. All right. I think it's about 1.5 miles left down to Pulgown. Just came out of the trees, and Scar Valley is looking, Scar Glen is looking pretty lovely. You can see a road being built there, which I'm pretty sure is for wind farms, and you can see installation happening up on the top. I've already seen some signs along this road lamenting that, and wind farms have been very contentious in Scotland. It's not a definite thing. So like, yeah, renewable energy is nice and everything, but if previously pristine places are now going to become ugly wind farms, and you have lived here for centuries on your farm and don't like that, I totally get it. Is it NIMBY? Yeah, but who wouldn't react that way to this ugly road and ugly towers being built in their valley? So yeah, there's a cost to everything. It's not like wind power is the perfect answer. I mean, those towers don't make themselves. You got to mine the metal, you got to manufacture them, got to use a lot of electricity and probably precious metals to get the components working. Gotta set them in concrete, gotta lube them with oil. So it's not like a completely clean process, which is why it's such a complex and divisive issue. It's not like, oh, wind power, of course we want to do that. That's perfect. There's lots of sides to everything. Interesting. This has all been dug up and reburied. And it continues right down to where that heavy machinery is working at the creek. and then you can see tracks going up further to that hill. I wonder if that's the transmission line. One thing I've been wondering about these wind farms is, okay, so the turbines generate electricity when the wind blows. Where does the electricity go? Does it get stored in a battery? Are there transmission lines from every turbine heading to some one main line that goes back somewhere else to a substation? Like, what are the logistics of it? How does it work? I'll tell you what, these bastards know how to build a road. Look at that. Something else I thought about that further complicates the wind farm issue. The number of vehicles going back and forth has been constant. There are a lot of people working here. This is a lot of decent paying jobs, probably with benefits, in a part of the country that doesn't seem to be all that wealthy or full of industry. So on the side of Go Wind Farms, it employs a lot of people. So again, it's a complicated issue. And power's got to come from somewhere. If it's not this, what is it? Coal, nuclear, hydroelectric. It's not going to be solar here, I can tell you that. Speaking of wind farms, looks like there's some up there to the left. Those next farmhouses in the distance are where I start to climb. All right, I've reached Pulgone Farm. This is where I leave the track, the lane, and start to head up that away. Doesn't look like it goes straight up, it just kind of traverses for a bit, but it's supposed to be pretty well signed. You know, as I think about this trail in relation to the other two hikes I've done in Great Britain, it brings up a lot of thoughts. You do the Coast to Coast Trail, and it was pretty amazingly scenic and wonderful. Lots of pubs. There's places you could stop just about every day to get a pint. It was a beautifully designed route and extremely enjoyable. And then the thing I did last year where I made my own route of 400 miles, it was harder, but there were parts that were supremely beautiful, little villages to go through. There were parts with backcountry Bothys. There were parts that weren't so nice. But again, that was part of the experience. And I think all of that was warming me up for this. The Southern Upland Way is, and this isn't a value judgment, is trying to be objective. I would say it's the least aesthetically pleasing of the three things I've done by a significant margin. I mean, here, my greatest concern, other than the climb itself, is to try avoid treading in fresh sheep shit. And sheep are everywhere. Sheep are everywhere. But that's what Scotland is. It's sort of like a marriage. A really pretty trail that has all the nice scenery that goes on Instagram. That's like the courtship and the honeymoon and everything, but the vows say for better or worse, sickness and in health, richer or poorer. Like, it's not always going to be wonderful. If you want to love Scotland, you have to love this too. You have to love the boggy trails. I mean, those were new shoes at the start of this trip. I'm going to be throwing them away when I'm done. You have to be okay with animals, sheep, cows, midges, ticks, you name it. You have to be okay with rain. It's part of it. At any moment, the skies could open and it could start deluging on me for hours. Did I mention bogs? You have to be okay with all of this if you're going to love Scotland. You can't just love the pretty bits. You can't just love the pub with the pint of Guinness and the rose and the thistle on the sign outside. You got to go in for the whole ride if you're going to love Scotland. And I do. But like anything, like a person, like an event, There's parts of everything that are a little tough to love, like wind power. You have to expand your mind and be willing to accept all parts of something if you're going to really know it and love it. Crossing the fence here. Am I escaping the sheep poo? Looks like no. All right, onward. Once you get a bit of separation from the wind farm construction, this is indeed a vast and lovely glen. Looks like I'm traversing up to the fence line at the top of this ridge before I plunge over the other side. Kind of getting to the top of things at this point. I remember reading in the Facebook group for Southern Upland Way, something in this part of the trail where they're saying something you can do to mitigate the exposure to mud. And I'm just sticking to the trail. I remember reading it a couple of times and not understanding it because it was referring to landmarks I wasn't familiar with. And it's not like my feet haven't been wet and muddy since the first day. So screw it. Another thing right now is you can tell the sun has come out. So yes, I'm glad the thunderstorms didn't follow me down the glen. But now that the sun has come out and it's pretty near 100% humidity, it is a muggy, sweaty son of a bitch. So I will be able to go downhill soon and ease that a little bit. In the meantime, a little bit more struggling. After 2.5 miles of bog, I'm on top of Wing Moor. And I think I begin to go downhill towards Sanquhar at this point. That is Sanquhar way down there. And it's going to be in view for the entirety of the descent. Way off in the distance, you can see a white round shape on top of that hill over there. That's Lowther Mountain, or White Lowther, I think. And that is the highest point that the route goes to. And if things go as planned, I'll be hitting that tomorrow morning at some point. In the meantime, onward to Sanquhar. Oh, that sad feeling where the nicely graded road that is so easy to walk isn't going where you're going. Okay, complications, of course, because there's always complications. I'm going off the route, which remember is just a muddy path through the grass, because there's a large herd of cows right in the middle of the route, including at least one bull. So I want to give them a wide berth, so I headed way off to the left, and I'm basically just bushwhacking through the Scottish countryside at this point, getting increasingly wet. I'm heading for the corner of that road straight up ahead, because from there I'll be able to get back to where I'm supposed to be. All right, the bovine menace is in the rearview mirror, and I don't see any more downhill from me. What's funny is in that 15-20 minute bushwhack to get around the herd, just walking randomly across the moor was really not any harder than what I'm doing here, and that says something about the quality or lack thereof of the quote-unquote trail. But again, this is a reality of Scotland. Had I known that was the reality, would I have signed up for this? I don't know. That might change my decision. But such a huge part of this trail is just boggy stuff like this. But there's a town down there, and that town has lunch for me. All right, getting into the outskirts of Sanquhar. About 9 miles in. Had a tough morning so far, but I'm going to have treats for it pretty soon. My kooky little hotel room is like being in a boat. It's on the top floor of the Nithsdale Hotel, and it's got all sorts of odd angles and things. My favorite part, though, is this nook that looks out over the town with views of the coming thunderstorms. Yeah, Scotland's pretty lovely.